Imagine, you're 13 years old and you're cutting through your high school grounds on your way home. It's a shortcut. You've taken it 100 times. But today is different. Today you stumble upon a scene that will forever, etch itself into your memory. A scene that will haunt your dreams. That's what happened to Drew Miller back in 1991. His discovery of 16-year-old Sarah Yarborough's body wasn't just the start of a murder investigation. It was the beginning of a nearly 30-year wait for justice.
Yeah, and what makes this case, so compelling is how it highlights the dramatic evolution of forensic science. Sarah's murder happened in a time when DNA technology was in its infancy.
Okay, so let's paint the picture for our listener.
Yeah.
Sarah was found murdered on the grounds of Federal Way High School just outside of Seattle. It was Drew, along with a friend, who made the horrific discovery. They actually came face to face with the killer. Can you imagine the terror of that moment? But back then, DNA evidence wasn't routinely collected or analyzed like it is today.
Right. And think about this. Even though the killer's DNA was present at the crime scene, the National DNA Database, CODIS, didn't even exist until 1998.
Wow.
Now, we take CODIS for granted. It's this massive database that law enforcement uses to match DNA samples from crime scenes to convicted felons. But back in 1991, that technology was still years away.
So even though the killer, Patrick Nicholas, had a prior conviction for attempted rape, his DNA was never entered into the system. It makes you wonder how many other cases could have been solved sooner if CODIS had been around.
It's a chilling thought. For years, investigators had the killer's DNA, but no way to connect it to him. Sarah's family and friends had no answers, no closure. They lived with the horrifying knowledge that the person who took Sarah from them could be anyone, anywhere.
As I was digging into this case, I came across the story of Anne Croney. Her story is absolutely terrifying, and it's strangely connected to Sarah's case. In 1983, 8 years before Sarah's murder, Anne survived a brutal attack by none other than Patrick Nicholas.
Anne's story is a testament to human resilience. To escape, she had to jump into a river, relying on the fact that her attacker couldn't swim. It's incredible that she managed to survive such a horrific ordeal.
And what makes it even more disturbing is that Nicholas only served 3.5 years of his 10-year sentence for attacking Anne. If he had served his full sentence, he would have still been behind bars when Sarah was murdered.
Yeah. It's a stark reminder that sentencing practices and the very definition of justice have evolved over time, and it tragically raises the question, could Sarah's death have been prevented?
It's a heavy question to consider, but thankfully the story doesn't end there. As the years went by, forensic science continued to advance, leading to a breakthrough in Sarah's case.
This is where forensic genetic genealogy enters the picture. It's a revolutionary technique that allows investigators to use DNA databases to trace familial connections. Think of it like a highly specialized family tree. But instead of relying on names and dates, it uses genetic markers to connect individuals.
So they were able to identify potential relatives of the killer through these databases. That's incredible.
Exactly. In this case, they were able to narrow down the suspects to 2 brothers. Through further DNA testing, they confirmed that Patrick Nicholas was a match to the DNA found at Sarah's murder scene.
This is amazing. But you mentioned earlier that using forensic genealogy to solve crimes isn't without its controversies.
Oh, right. You're right.
Wait a minute. Controversies? What kind of controversies are we talking about here?
Well, for starters, using these databases for criminal investigations raises privacy concerns. Think about it. Someone submits their DNA to a genealogy service to learn about their ancestry, not realizing their genetic information could be used to solve crimes.
You're right. I hadn't thought about it like that. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? On the one hand, it's an incredible tool for solving cold cases. But on the other hand, it does raise questions about privacy and consent.
Exactly. It's a complex issue that's still being debated in legal and ethical circles. But in Sarah's case, there's no denying that forensic genealogy led to a long-awaited break. After nearly 30 years, Patrick Nicholas was finally arrested and brought to trial.
And get this, during the trial, the defense actually tried to argue that forensic genetic genealogy was unreliable. They claimed it shouldn't be admissible as evidence.
Yeah, that's become a common defense strategy in cases involving forensic genealogy. But in this case, the evidence was simply overwhelming. Nicholas was found guilty of first-degree and second-degree murder, a bittersweet victory for Sarah's loved ones. They finally had justice, but it came after decades of agonizing uncertainty.
It's a powerful reminder that justice can be delayed, but it doesn't have to be denied. And it speaks volumes about the perseverance of Sarah's friends and family. For almost 30 years, they never gave up hope. They kept her memory alive, pushing for answers. And they were finally rewarded with the truth.
It's a testament to the power of hope and the importance of never giving up on the pursuit of justice. Sarah's case touched so many lives, not just her family and friends, but the entire Federal Way community.
It's a story that stays with you, isn't it?
Yeah.
It makes you think about the fragility of life, the enduring power of hope, and the incredible advancements in science that are allowing us to solve crimes that once seemed impossible.
It also forces us to grapple with the ethical dilemmas that new technologies present. As we move forward, it's important to have open and honest conversations about how we balance the need to solve crimes with the right to privacy.
I'm also struck by the fact that even though Sarah's murder happened so long ago, her friends still talk about her with such vividness and affection. It's like she's still a part of their lives.
It's a powerful reminder that even though someone may be physically gone, their memory can live on through the stories we tell and the love we share. And that's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
It really is. And it makes me think about the ripple effects of tragedy, how one event can impact so many lives in profound and lasting ways.
That's something we'll explore further as we delve deeper into the impact of Sarah's murder on her community and the legacy she left behind. And as we delve deeper into this case, you can't overlook the profound psychological impact it had on Drew Miller. Imagine being 13 years old and stumbling upon that scene, seeing Sarah's body, even coming face to face with the killer.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's difficult to even fathom the trauma he endured. I can't imagine carrying that weight for almost 30 years, knowing that you saw the killer, that you were right there at the scene.
Exactly. And Drew did carry that weight. He struggled with feelings of guilt, questioning whether he could have done more to prevent Sarah's death or help solve the case sooner. That's a heavy burden for anyone to bear, let alone a young teenager.
It breaks my heart to think about what he went through. But I was so incredibly impressed by his courage in speaking out about his experience, sharing his story with the world.
Yeah, his willingness to testify during the trial, to confront Patrick Nicholas in court, was incredibly powerful. It was a way for him to reclaim some of the power that was taken from him that day, to finally have his voice heard.
And it wasn't just Drew who found a sense of closure through the trial. Sarah's friends and family, who had been on this long and painful journey for justice, finally had the answers they had been seeking.
Their strength and resilience throughout those 3 decades is truly remarkable. They never gave up hope, they kept Sarah's memory alive, and they supported each other every step of the way. The trial brought them together, along with Anne Croney, creating a powerful network of shared grief and determination.
It speaks to the profound strength of the human spirit, the power of community in the face of unimaginable tragedy. And, as we talk about the impact of this case, we can't forget about the wider community, the students and staff at Federal Way High School. Sarah's murder happened on school grounds, a place that should feel safe and secure.
Absolutely. This horrific act of violence shattered that sense of security, leaving a lasting impact on everyone connected to the school. Imagine being a student or a teacher at that school, trying to go back to class, walk those same halls, knowing what had happened there.
The 48 Hours episode we're referencing mentions that classes resumed just 2 days after the murder. It's hard to even comprehend how anyone could focus on schoolwork with such a heavy cloud hanging over them.
It's understandable that fear and anxiety lingered for many students and staff. They had to grapple with the realization that violence can intrude even in seemingly safe spaces.
It really underscores the importance of providing long-term support and resources to help communities heal after traumatic events. It's not just about catching the perpetrator, it's about addressing the psychological and emotional scars that these events leave behind.
You're absolutely right, and it raises questions about school safety measures and the need for ongoing vigilance to prevent such tragedies from happening again.
It's a sobering reminder that we can never take safety and security for granted. But even in the face of such darkness and pain, there are glimmers of hope in this story.
Absolutely. The fact that Sarah's case was ultimately solved, that her killer was brought to justice, offers a sense of closure, not just for her loved ones, but for the entire community. It demonstrates that even after decades, justice can prevail.
And it showcases the remarkable advancements in forensic science that have made it possible to solve cold cases that once seemed unsolvable. Technologies like forensic genetic genealogy are revolutionizing criminal investigations, bringing hope to families who've waited years for answers.
It's true. But as with any powerful technology, it's crucial to consider the ethical considerations. As we become more reliant on DNA technology, it's important to have open and honest discussions about privacy, consent, and the responsible use of genetic information.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but it's a conversation we need to have. By thoughtfully examining the ethical and legal implications, we can work towards a future where justice is served while safeguarding individual rights.
And as we reflect on the Sarah Yarborough case, it's vital to remember that behind the headlines, behind the legal proceedings, there are real people whose lives were forever changed by this tragedy.
You're so right. This isn't just a case file or a podcast episode. It's the story of a young life tragically cut short, a community grappling with loss, and the enduring power of hope and resilience. And it's a story that, while rooted in the past, has important implications for our future.
Exactly. It prompts us to think critically about our justice system, the role of technology in our lives, and the importance of community support and healing in the aftermath of trauma.
And it reminds us that while we may not be able to prevent every tragedy, we can work together to create a world where justice is pursued thoughtfully and compassionately, where victims are supported, and where communities can find healing and strength in the face of adversity.
Now, you might be wondering, if Nicholas was convicted of first-degree and second-degree murder, why wasn't he convicted of premeditated murder?
That's a great question. It highlights how the legal system, while striving for justice, can sometimes be nuanced and complex.
Well, you see, to get a conviction for premeditated murder, the prosecution has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the killer planned and intended the murder beforehand. In Sarah's case, the jury determined that there wasn't enough evidence to support that specific charge.
It's a good reminder that the justice system is made up of human beings, each with their own interpretations of the law and the evidence presented. It's not always a, simple black and white situation.
That's right. And it underscores the tremendous responsibility that jurors have in weighing the evidence and reaching a verdict.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I find myself thinking about Sarah's legacy. Her friends described her as a bright light, someone who brought joy and laughter to everyone around her. It's clear that even in death, she continues to inspire those who knew her.
Yeah, it's remarkable how Sarah's story transcends the tragedy. Her memory lives on not just through the pursuit of justice, but through the actions and words of those who loved her.
Her family and friends have channeled their grief into advocacy, supporting other families of homicide victims, and raising awareness about violence against women. They've turned their pain into purpose, and that's truly inspiring.
Their dedication to keeping Sarah's memory alive is a testament to the enduring power of love and the importance of finding meaning even in the face of profound loss. It shows us that even in the darkest of times, we can find a way to create light and make a positive impact on the world.
So what does all of this mean for you, the listener? The Sarah Yarborough case is a stark reminder that crime can touch any community, any family. It highlights the complexities of our justice system and the remarkable advancements in forensic science that are helping to bring closure to families who have waited years for answers.
It also prompts us to think critically about the ethical implications of these advancements, ensuring that we balance the need for justice with the protection of individual rights.
The Sarah Yarborough case is a story that stays with you. It forces us to confront difficult questions, to grapple with the realities of crime and punishment, and to appreciate the strength and resilience of the human spirit. It reminds us that even in the face of unimaginable loss, there is hope, there is healing, and there's the enduring power of love and memory.
And if this deep dive resonated with you, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more fascinating and thought-provoking explorations of real-life stories that matter. We're here to guide you through the complexities of the world around us, leaving you with more to ponder and explore.